You look like you'd like
a nice Hawaiian punch.
Come on, go Hawaiian
with Hawaiian punch.
It's got a taste that goes with your face.
I'm making my case.
You're liking the taste. You look like you'd like a nice Hawaiian punch. You like a nice Hawaiian punch.
You look like you like
more than just a cold drink. 7 real fruits,
natural fruits.
10% fruit juice, what a taste. You look like you'd like a nice Hawaiian punch. You like a nice Hawaiian punch.
Reach out, oh, wait and see. Reach out, wait and see. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the car. For the home team, if they don't win, it's a shame. Play ball.
Hello, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Reach Out with Ray and Steve. And if you've watched this before, you know by now that this is the show where East meets West, where the Yankees meet the beloved Dodgers, baseball meets music, and we all come together for community. All right, everybody, let's bring on our host, Mr. Ray and Mr. Steve. Come on in, gents.
Hey, Robbie. Whoa, kids. Thank you, Robbie. I feel a little younger today.
Yeah, you look younger with your new haircut, I guess.
There we go. There we go. So, Ray, where you at these days?
I am today in the Bronx, and I'm over at the house that George Steinbrenner built in South Bronx. And I'm just, in essence, enjoying myself because we have a better record than the Los Angeles Dodgers. Right?
I know.
Okay.
You do. But if you want to really get technical, the Dodgers and the Yankees are the top 2 teams, aren't they? That means we're going to meet in the World Series, right?
You know, it's funny how Robbie always has a way of turning things. He's like Mr. Frankie Valli, same thing. You know, I mean, you know, okay, Robbie, you can have your way.
Yeah, but Ray, you know what? We have that common. We have that
I
same.
just got muted. Hold on a second.
We have that same theme for the last couple of weeks that the Yankees are better than the Dodgers. So, I mean, I hope Robbie really understands that.
There is only one way that we're going to settle this dilemma, and that's going to be in October, and we'll find out.
That's right. That's right. This is Reach Out with Ray, Steve, and Robbie. We are every Monday night from 7 to 8 p.m., and that's rebroadcasted on Cablevision and BronxNet. And, Robbie, you got yourself together?
I got it together now. Was he talking smack about my Dodgers?
Well, no, we were just mentioning that week after week, the Yankees have been better than the Dodgers.
You know what? They have.
No, let me just say, smack is a very illegal drug, Robbie. So
Okay.
please be very careful in what you're saying.
I know. We've got to be careful these days in this politically correct climate we live in.
And Ray's been politically correct for 50 years now, right, Ray?
Well, at least 60.
Okay.
Speaking of 60 years, man, 60 years ago, there was a big hit record that was one of my favorite songs, and it was not Sherry, and it was not Green Onions, and it was not Let's Dance, and it was not the Peppermint Twist. They were all from 62, but one of our guests tonight had one of the biggest records of 1962, and we're going to let that be a surprise when he comes on.
Okay, well, Steve and Robbie, I want to show the fans I'm up in the suite level of Yankee Stadium. So I want to show you what happens inside a suite. And this particular suite is a party that's being held by Dwight Gooden.
Oh, okay.
The fact that they are actually proceeding with a movie on his life.
Wow.
So I'm going to just show you a quick glimpse of what happens. And so I am in that suite now, suite 34. And this is some of the people.
Yeah.
Okay, there's Kent Demmel,
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Andrew Levy.
Hey.
Okay, they're big producers. And then here is, look at this. This is what Dwight Gooden does. That's what
There we
Dwight
go.
Gooden entertains the people over here.
The good doctor.
Let me show you.
Oh, there we go.
When
Not bad.
anybody's going to ask, what is Dwight Gooden doing post-baseball? He entertains the fans.
There he is.
Hey, Dwight.
Let them know about your movie.
The movie's coming out, and it wouldn't be about this, man. You gotta get the shirt on. Show them the shirt.
Wow.
You gotta see that?
That's a great shirt.
Yeah.
Super
But yeah,
cool.
the film that we tried to get in '97 is actually gonna go to work. We're meeting in 2 weeks. It should start probably in the first week or the second week of August. We'll start
Wow.
filming in New York, as well as LA, and probably in Tampa.
Now, Dwight,
Man, right here.
one word, George Steinbrenner, one word, Dwight.
You're the great Dwight Gooden.
Couldn't do it by myself. You played a big part, whether you want to accept it or not.
Okay.
1995, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Let's be honest.
Thank you.
I mean that.
Thank you. So, Robbie, what's the question you had for Doc?
Who's going to play Ray Negron in the movie, Doc?
I'm not sure yet. Maybe his son.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So I have one question, Dwight. One
Maybe
word,
John
couple
Eric.
words. George Steinbrenner.
John
What does
Eric's
George
his
Steinbrenner
twin.
mean to you?
Huh?
George Steinbrenner. What does George Steinbrenner mean to you?
Oh man, it means everything to me. He's like my second dad. George, he believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. He never gave up on me. He was a good guy, a friend to me. He was great to my family, great to the community, great to my little people, everybody. He belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Amen.
No doubt. No doubt.
Amen.
Wow, gentlemen, unbelievable. Dwight, this movie is going to be great. We can't wait to see it.
So you can't wait to see the
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. It should be great. And the main thing, hopefully it makes a difference in someone else's life so they don't have to go through the same things I went through. But it's going to be a great movie. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry. You're going to be sad. You're going to be happy. But it's a tremendous movie, I think.
Amen. And Doc looks like he could pitch today.
You have to bring the mound a little closer. The older you get, the further the mound gets.
Yeah.
And Dwight looks fab. Hey, Dwight is player shape right now.
Absolutely. I can see that.
Yes,
Thank you. I
yes.
appreciate it.
Congratulations,
All right, well, thank you,
Dwight.
Doc.
You got it, Ray. Anytime. You guys keep up the good work.
Thank you, Dwight.
How cool is that? Doc Gooden, Ray
Unbelievable.
Negron.
Very, very, very nice job. Now, Ray, you across the street is the old Yankee Stadium, and you were there a couple of days ago. There were some little leaguers there. They had their opening day. Talk about what that meant to you, but more importantly, what it meant to those kids.
Well, the fact of the matter is, the day before there had been 3 killings, and two were children.
Oh,
And
horrible.
earlier in the week, a little girl, 11 years old, she got shot in the stomach, believe it or not, in crossfire. I mean, this is what's happening over here. And, you know, the motto for the day was, let's play baseball and let's keep away from the violence. And that's
Wow.
what it's all about right now. Because, you know, the funny thing is, if we had more of those kids playing baseball, they wouldn't be in the street with guns.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And there's
And
a
that's
good
the bottom-
friend over there.
So it's crazy what's happening in here, and hopefully baseball will help.
There's so many great memories that have been created at Yankee Stadium when it was there, but there are memories being created now at that ball field, more importantly for the community of the Bronx. And you continue to showcase those youngsters and coaches and people that you've been connected with for so many decades.
Well, I do in sports what Robbie Robinson does in music. I mean, you know what I'm saying? We're trying to take our cultures and give it to the young people, and that's very, very important. Or Steve, what you're doing through the process of education. You know, listen, it all works in together, and we got to keep going. Because as I told the kids on Saturday, the first question I had for them was, how many of you here believe in God? I mean, really believe in God.
Wow.
And all their hands stood up.
Hallelujah.
But yet, if we don't take care of these kids, you know that there will be several of them who will be handling guns, and one or two may kill somebody. You see what I'm saying?
And where you're doing it, Ray, the place that you're doing it on, where the house that Ruth built, I mean, and that is hallowed ground. That is holy ground right there next to the new Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium. And it's so cool that you're using that hallowed ground, the house that Ruth built, the old Yankee Stadium, for this amazing stuff that is going to help the world and help the community, especially in the Bronx.
And thank you for that, Robbie. And let me just say, as you say that, the Yankee Stadium was known as the cathedral.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if we're dealing with the aspect of church and God, as well as baseball and Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, etc., you know, Thurman Munson, then it's important. It's important for us to try and continue to help these young people, because, you know, they just don't know any better sometimes.
So Ray, you also met someone that really connects with so many people. She's from New York, Nancy Lieberman. You met her yesterday or the day before. Talk about Nancy for a moment.
Well, I grew up with Nancy Lieberman. She's the greatest female basketball player that I've ever seen. And she was the first woman to play in a men's league. Okay, and she's in the NBA Hall of Fame besides all the other basketball Hall of Fames. And as a young girl, you're talking about a 14-year-old white girl who would get on subway trains to go and play against the brothers up in Manhattan in the Bronx.
Wow.
Okay. And her mother would be screaming at her, "Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?" And she would say, "Because I want to play against the best." And that's what made her Lady Magic. And let me just say this about her. Interesting story. She was best friends with Kobe Bryant. And she was teaching Kobe Bryant's daughter. She was helping Kobe's daughter instructionally. And that day, she got Kobe went up on the helicopter. She was supposed to be with Kobe, but she got sick. I guess God had other plans.
Hey, did you ever play basketball with her?
Yeah, but I could never beat her. Unfortunately, her shot was a little better than mine.
You mean, Ray, all those Swiss shots on social media, you can't take her?
She always had one. She always made that one more than me. Okay, sorry.
Okay, all right, just checking it out. Well, we have a community section here, and we have Debbie Mayfort's going to come on, but she works with Justin Osmond of the Osmond family, and we have a little snippet of Justin talking, and then we're going to bring Debbie Mayfort on right now to talk about her event coming up. Let's check it out.
I was born with a very severe to profound hearing loss. And for the first 2 years of my life, I lived in a world of complete silence. One of the biggest mountains in my life growing up was being born into the musical Osmond family. In the middle of a crowd, I felt alone. In a world where people like myself can't hear, I'm surrounded by a lot of people who won't hear. Every time I present on stage, my focus is to deliver a message that people can use. Motivation without over-the-top hype, and inspiration with humor and a long-term effect. I don't like to let my hearing loss define me. I like to let it refine me. We can control the quality of our lives just by how we think and act toward those challenges. Sometimes, when they hear my deaf accent, they start talking really loud like this, so thinking I can understand. Or sometimes I use over-exaggerated mouth movements like this, thinking I can understand. But just so you know, folks, that did not help. But it does give me a lot of entertainment. We are all like a postage stamp. We get licked, we get depressed, we get stuck in a corner, and then we get sent from place to place. But we always succeed and arrive in the right place if we just stick to it. He said this, "I hope you never measure your life by the days you have lived, but by the smile you leave behind. I've learned to embrace my hearing disability and then allow it to empower me instead of holding me back. You can either limit your challenges or you can challenge your limits. So whenever you fail, and we all will, we're all going to have our setbacks, don't ever give up, because there's just another opportunity right around the corner, another door, another window that's going to open. All of our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Pablo Picasso once said, the meaning of life is to find your gift, but the purpose of life is to share it. Doing things that we don't want to do, but we do them anyway, is what defines us and makes us who we are. All of your dreams are just a heartbeat away, and the answers are all up to us. Will we find an excuse, or will we embrace our limitations and move those mountains and find a way?
Wow. Debbie Mayfort, when you see that video of Justin Osmond, I mean, what does that mean for you?
I know Justin so well, and every word of what he says comes from his heart. So it's so easy to just get wrapped up in what he's saying and to believe the faith that he has in what he's saying.
Now, Debbie, meet Ray Negron and Robbie Robinson.
Hi.
Co-host
Hi,
there.
Debbie.
Robbie, when you watch that video, what comes to mind for you, Robbie?
Well, actually, a number of things come to mind. First of all, the Osmond family. We've had a number of opportunities in the music business where we've crossed paths with them. We've worked in their studio before, and I know Frankie or Donnie had a hit record with a Frankie Valli record, song called "Let's Hang On."
Yeah,
That's way before your time, Debbie, though. You wouldn't remember.
I did know that, though.
But what really jumps out at me is, first of all, I love what Justin was talking about. Challenge you when you to challenge your limits, to reach for that dream, and that's something that equates in life, no matter what area of pursuit that you're in, whether you're pursuing the baseball world, whether you're pursuing the music world, or anything in life that you want to get past the hump, because everybody has challenges of some sort, and we've got to roll up our sleeves and just get past them.
Ray, what's your thoughts, Ray?
Right.
Ray?
Husband.
We lost Ray.
Yeah.
Hey, well, let me add it. Oh, there he is. Let me add another Frankie Valli connection. Another thing that jumped out at me as I was watching Justin talk, and I think a lot of Frankie Valli's fans know that he had severe hearing loss in the 70s. He had a rare hearing disease, and he went in and had an operation that fixed a lot of it, but he still wears a hearing aid, and but he's had a pretty decent career, even despite his hearing issues.
That's like Justin. Justin, with his severe hearing loss, he is a phenomenal violin player. And he does it by holding the violin up to his jaw so that he can feel the vibrations, because he can't hear the sounds that's coming out of it. So it's amazing what you can do as long as you don't limit your mind. He's very big on the terminology associated with hearing loss. For example, here in New York, the common phrase is hearing impaired. Justin does not believe in the word impaired. He's not impaired with anything. So he prefers the term hearing loss or deaf. But it's all a matter of mindset. You don't limit yourself to what other people impose on you. And that's the way everyone should live their life, regardless of what they are living with.
Absolutely.
So, Debbie, talk about your involvement with the Olive Osmond Hearing Fund and why it all started for you.
Sure. So my son, who is now 23, he was born deaf, only we didn't know it because of a proper diagnosis until he was 4.5 years old. And as time went on and he needed a new pair of hearing aids back in 2014, we could not afford them. What most people don't know is an average pair of hearing aids cost $8,000. That's Kyle there. An average pair of hearing aids cost $8,000, and New York State does not mandate insurance companies to cover the cost of them. So many families cannot afford a pair of hearing aids for the children, and my family was one of those at the time. And I was reading a book by Marie Osmond, one of her biographies, and in it she spoke about her oldest brothers, Tom and Burl, who were both born deaf. A lot of people don't know how the Osmond brothers, or why the Osmond brothers got started. Their parents could not afford hearing aids for Tom and Burl, so their mother taught the 4 oldest brothers how to sing, and she put them together as a barbershop quartet, and she sent them out to sing at bowling alleys and restaurants and county fairs to raise money to get their 2 oldest children hearing aids. So we kind of follow in suit with that. When Justin was born, Justin is the first Osmond in that generation. He's the son of Merrill Osmond, the lead singer for the brothers. And he's the first one born with the same congenital hearing loss that the 2 older brothers have. And he started the Olive Osmond Hearing Fund in honor of his grandmother, Olive Osmond, when she passed away. And we were able to get my son hearing aids through the foundation. And then shortly after he got the aids, we met Justin and his wife, Christy, and we decided right there on the spot, you know what, we need to hold a fundraiser. Let's raise some money and give back to the foundation that gave us the beautiful gift of hearing for our son. So what started out as just an idea to have one simple small fundraiser where maybe I could get 50 people to attend and maybe I could raise enough money to get 1 pair of hearing aids. To date, as of from 2015 till now, so far we have been able to get over 450 children hearing aids.
Awesome.
So what started out as a small little fundraiser for us has evolved into us now forming the Olive Osmond Hearing Fund New York chapter, and Justin has made me the executive director of that chapter here in New York. So we're continuing our work to get children hearing aids. In addition to that, I also do a lot of lobbying up in Albany. We were just there a couple of weeks ago, and we are trying to get New York State Assembly and Senate to sign a bill to put into law mandating New York State insurance companies help with covering the cost of hearing aids for children. These parents are paying astronomical monthly premiums. It averages about a $480 premium per month, and we have approximately 3.1 million people in New York State that are deaf or hard of hearing.
Wow.
So these people need some help with getting hearing aids, not only for themselves, adults, but also for children. And statistics show that of the children that suffer from hearing loss, only 10% of them are then following through and able to get hearing aids because their parents can afford them. So 90% of children are going to school on a daily basis, not being able to hear their peers. And what some schools have started here in Manhattan and in the Bronx is they have hearing aid loaner programs. So deaf children can come into the health office in the morning when they get into school and borrow a pair of hearing aids for the day, which is helpful for them during the day, hearing their teacher, learning their lessons, socializing with peers at lunchtime and free periods. But then at the end of the day at 3 o'clock, they have to turn those hearing aids back into the health office. So they go home, and from 3 p.m. until 8 a.m. the next morning on school days only, they're able to hear again then. Weekends, they have no access to hearing aids. Summer vacations, 2 months, no access to hearing aids. New York State has to do better for these children. I know we can do better for these children. So we're working hard to get this mandate passed. And until we do, I keep working through the New York chapter to get as many kids as I can hearing aids.
Well, Debbie, you know, we've been friends for many, many years, and I always admire the work that you do, but more importantly, how you advocate for others and you move beyond your own family. You've helped so many families along the way, and that your event, it probably took a hit during the pandemic, but you're raring to go on July 14th, right?
Yep, raring to go on July 14th. We had to cancel our 2020 event because of the pandemic. Then in 2021, we were able to have a smaller scale one at the Stuart Manor Country Club. And now July 14th, 2022, we are raring to go at Chateaubriand.
Awesome.
That's right. And the keynote speaker is a friend of ours, Rachel Barcelona.
Yes, I'm looking so forward to hear Rachel speak. And I think what makes the whole connection so amazing to have Rachel speak is not only does she live with disabilities, but her mother is deaf. So Rachel knows firsthand what it's like to live with someone that suffers from hearing loss.
That's right. And
Awesome.
Debbie, I think there's a couple of forms. People are going to flash them on the screen. How can people get tickets or support your efforts moving forward?
So they can go to hearingfund.org. That's our website. And all of the information is there for the New York chapter on how to get tickets, how to make a donation, or my contact information if they'd like to reach out for more information.
Well, Debbie, I can't wait. We're going to be a big part of it on July 14th. We've been a big part over the years, and God bless your efforts. I have one quick question for you. Do you see Dwight Gooden as a Yankee or a Met?
A Met. Definitely a Met.
Okay.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Debbie. Do you see Darryl Strawberry as a Yankee or a Dodger?
Oh.
Yankee. Yankee.
Sorry. There we go. Debbie, thank you so very much. July 14th. I can't wait. If you guys don't know the Chateaubriand, it's a beautiful, beautiful venue, and I can't wait to be a part of that. And God bless you. And meeting Justin a couple years back was a dream come true, and just his efforts and your efforts combined are helping so many people.
Thank you. Thanks
God
for all
bless
your
you,
support
Debbie.
through the years.
Thank you so much, Debbie. Olive Osmond, Hearing Fund, New York chapter, bring music to your ears. July 14th at the Chateaubriand. You want to be there, get your tickets, and you'll hear some great music. But more importantly, you'll bring hearing aids to kids and families that can't afford it. And Robbie, that's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely. That's a great thing that she's involved with, and a great campaign, and she espoused the need so articulately. You know, I can see how she'd be a great advocate for that.
That's right. And it fits right in line to what we do, but also music fits right in line to what we do. And we have an amazing guest coming up.
We sure do. Now, by the way, did we lose our Yankee cohort there?
I don't know.
He probably went to get a Dodger dog there at Yankee Stadium.
Dodger dog. Yeah, he'll be looking all over the place for that one.
But yes, we have a great guest. This gentleman, and I say gentleman with a capital G, is one of the great men in the music business on so many sides of the music business. But he got his start with a group that was very famous in the 60s when the music was the best, by the way. As a matter of fact, the song that they had, I'm going to put it on here in the background. Let's see if I don't know if you can hear that, but coming at you, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Duprees singing their big smash record, You Belong to Me. And we have as our special guest one of the original members of the Duprees, none other than John Salvato. Come on in, John.
Yes, John. Welcome to Reach Out with us. Welcome aboard, John.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hey,
Rob,
John.
Rob, thanks for that great introduction.
Hey, but you need to sit down so we can see your face, brother.
How about this?
Oh, there we go.
That's a little better.
Yeah, I can't. Rob, before we go any further, let me say this. Please connect me with Debbie. Because my granddaughter has 40% hearing loss.
Wow.
I would like to connect with Debbie and help her raise some funds towards activities and things that she does for that organization she's with.
Wow, that is such a blessing, John. I can't believe you made that offer. That's beautiful.
Steve, can you connect John and Debbie?
Yes, I will connect both of you. And you know what, Robbie, this is what this show's about, is bringing community, entertainment, and sports together. Because, John, you're an established musician, performer for so many years, but you chose to start the show up by talking about the guest that we had on before that's raising money for others. That says a lot about you, sir.
Well, you know, it hits close to home.
Yeah.
Because my family has been experiencing that situation with my granddaughter. Debbie came on, she talked about her cause. We want to help her.
Wow, we will definitely set that up, and thank you so very much. I know Debbie will be very honored and privileged to get the chance to talk to you and make that happen. Thank you so very much.
Would be my pleasure.
God bless. Now you're in New Jersey, and Robbie brought in that hit song so many years ago. Let's hear it again, Robbie.
You belong to me. What a song, man. When you hear that song, John Salvato, take us back to how this young cast of singers, the Duprees, you and the Duprees, come up with this smash record and what that meant to you and how it all came about.
Well, let me say this, Rob. A lot of people don't realize that the Duprees were also musicians.
Right.
I played the trumpet, and going back, I guess, 50, 60 years ago, I listened to big bands and not doo-wop. At the time, when I was dating my wife, she had You Belong to Me in the piano bench of the piano.
Yeah, that song goes back to like the 50s, doesn't it? The original song.
I think it was Joe Stafford.
Uh-huh.
And she recorded that song probably, I guess, maybe 45 or some 50, and we made it famous 12 years later or 15 years later.
Yes. Well,
In fact, Rob, let me interrupt you for a second. When I think about 1962, You Belong to Me, Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons had a hit record called Sherry. And Frankie Valli and myself were doing the Dick Clark show on the same day.
Wow. I know you and Frankie. Is that when you first met Frankie? Because you and Frankie have been friends for decades, haven't you?
We've been friends for decades. Yeah, I know Frank for a long, long time. In fact,
something in the water there in New Jersey, man. All that music that was happening in those days. Tell us about that.
Well, it was a great time for, groups like Frank, groups like the guys that I was singing with, the Duprees. I mean, we just loved singing on the street corner and in the basement apartments, and come up with an original sound. And from there, it was kind of history.
You know what? We have another guest who's been on a friend of our show who had a big hit record in 1962, and he's from New Jersey. I'm afraid I suspect you guys are friends, and that would be Joey D.
Joey is a great friend of mine. In fact, we talk often, and I think I called him maybe 6 months ago or 7 months ago and asked him how his golf game was going in Florida.
Good. So what is it? Why was there such a cool music scene in the 60s in Jersey? What was there something in the water, or was it Frank Sinatra?
I just think, Rob, it was the time. I mean, just like every period in time, there seems to be, like in 1964 and through the 70s, it was the time for the English invasion.
Yeah.
Right. That was the time the Beatles and all those guys from England made hit records. And in fact, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons were very lucky, had great songs, and was able to sustain themselves during that period of time.
One of the few groups, yes.
It seems like every decade there seems to be a new fad, new music, just like the 80s or late 70s, 80s disco.
Right. And you guys even had a disco hit, didn't you?
We had a song called You Are So Delicious, and I believe it hit top 40 on the charts.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Now, one of your friends I know was somebody that was also a guest on this show last year, and he passed away last year. So sad to say, and that was the great Joe Long from the Four Seasons.
Well,
What can you say about your friendship with Joe Long?
well, Joe, as you know, Joe was a wonderful man. In fact, Joe and I did a Christmas show together where we were talking about the Duprees and the Four Seasons. And I think it was just before or during the period when COVID started. I had the pleasure of doing that show with Joe. And soon after, Joe got sick and passed on us.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that show because we just happen to have a clip from that show that I think our audience would be fascinated by.
Yeah, let's check it out.
We'll take your request, 212-219-9695. Back here with Mr. Joe Long. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Hello, hello.
I know you have a lot of interesting memories of Mr. Elvis Presley. I know you have one particular story you wanted to share with us. What would that be like?
This is funny. We're working with Sinatra at Caesar's Palace, and Elvis was at the International. And after our show, see, Frank, when you work with Frank, you did only one show. And that was when you were done. So we finished early and went to see Elvis' second show at the International. Gordio, Valley, and our wives and I. We were invited backstage to say hello to Elvis. And when we got back there, we were kind of standing in a row, in a line, and our wives were in front of us. And we were talking to Elvis, and a nice conversation. And finally, Frankie's wife, Marianne, asked for a photograph. So he sent for some photographs, and he signed them all, Best Wishes, Elvis. Signed Frankie's wife, then my wife, and it got to Bobby's wife, Breet, and she said, "Well, would you put to Breet on it? Would you personalize it?" So Marianne, Frankie's wife, said, "Well, he didn't put his name on mine." So Elvis said, "Well, no, don't worry about it." So he says to her, "What's your wife's name? What's your name?" And she said, "Marianne," to Marianne. Then said to my wife, "And your name?" She said, "Laura." So while he's signing it, he said, "Tell Laura I love her." Well, her knees just buckled. Luckily, I was there to catch her,
I wish I
Otherwise, she would have gone right to the ground.
I wish I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Elvis Presley.
Elvis was great. We kind of hung with him for a few days after that, some dinner and some cocktail kind of thing. And he was, as most people were led to believe, a real gentleman, a great guy.
He was a black belt in karate, too.
I wasn't going to mess with him, Teddy.
By the way, what's your favorite Elvis song? Do you have one?
Some of the latter stuff. At my age, I forget titles, but the one he did was toward the end of his career. About my body is burning or something like that. Come on, somebody help me.
Burning love.
Yeah, burning love. God, it's good to have people.
We're gonna play that song tonight here. Let's get that song on, Jim. In the meantime, thanks, John.
He also rehearsed "It's Not Gonna Shine" anymore too. I saw it in the book.
Eddie, I got an Elvis story.
Elvis Presley.
Tell me one, John.
Dupree's, we opened the show for Elvis. It was in Ohio. Got to meet him briefly when he was coming out of the dressing room. We had some comments, some greetings. From then on, he used to send me a Christmas card every year with his dog. Now, Elvis owned St. Bernard dogs. So I used to get a St. Bernard card from Elvis every year.
Did you save those cards?
I saved the cards.
No kidding. Wow, incredible. Do you remember that moment when you met him, what he looked like, what he was wearing at that moment, or not? Some interesting.
He was kind of in between, changing from his regular clothes to uniform to go up on the stage. It was a great experience. Like Joe said, nice guy.
People are calling in, they want to hear a song called, I believe it's called Love Eyes.
Love that song.
That's one you do love.
I do love that song. I didn't write it, but it was one of my favorites.
What's the reason that's one of your favorites? What makes it that way?
I think the story about Love Eyes and the lyrics, it really tells the story, and that's why it's one of my favorites.
Let's hear it at WPAT. New York. Mr. John Salvato, the Duprees, and Love Eyes.
I'll always love you. I'll always love you. Love eyes. You've got those dreamy kind of love eyes. Eyes that set my heart on fire.
Wow.
Fascinating. So you got Christmas cards from Elvis every year. How cool is that, John Salvato?
Oh, that was great. In fact, I always look forward to Christmas to get those cards from Elvis with a Saint Bernard dog. It was a great feeling to get a card from Elvis. How many people got Christmas cards from Elvis? John Salvato got a Christmas card.
You know what? And I wish our cohort here, Ray Negron, was with us, but we've lost him due to the internet at Yankee Stadium. I think the Yankees must be losing, so that they do as they.
No, they're at Robbie. They're winning 2-0. Just for the record,
never mind
okay?
then.
There we go.
Ray Negron loves Elvis. I mean, he's like a teeny bopper with Elvis.
But you know what? You know what? You know what? On that video, Joe Long was there, and Robbie, you brought him onto the show last year before he passed, and he was such a kind gentleman. I mean, he just was unbelievable, and I always remember that show because how great he was and how inspiring he was. John, talk about Joe Long for a minute.
I think Joe shared with me a moment where Paul McCartney said to him, Joe Long, you are a great left-handed bass player. And I think McCartney said he was kind of like a fan of Joe's and just thought he was a great player. That's one of the things that Joe shared with me. But Joe had great stories about Frankie Valli and the guys that he shared on that radio program we were doing together. He was just a wonderful, wonderful man, and I'm sorry that we don't have him any longer. Everybody who met Joe loved Joe because Joe was Joe.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Joe was, and I've heard that same story, John, from Joe, and it's a great story. As a matter of fact, here's how I've heard it, John. Let me rephrase it. Paul McCartney came up to him and said, "Hey, Joe Long, how does it feel to be the second greatest bass player in rock and roll? second greatest left-handed bass player in rock and roll."
Wow, there you go.
Hey, John, now you guys toured together with the Four Seasons back in the day with the Duprees too, didn't you?
We did. In fact, shortly after we did the Dick Clark show, we toured the Northeast, and we went to, I remember, a date that we played in Bangor, Maine.
Wow.
And Frankie Valli and the guys were sharing the dressing room backstage before the show. Dupree's sharing the dressing room. And I always kind of thought that, and pardon my language, I always thought that at that particular time, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons were a bullshit group because they had this lead singer that was singing these high notes, and we were singing standard songs, and they had hit records with Sherry, Walk Like a Man, and those tunes. Yeah. And I never really appreciated them until we played together in Bangor, Maine. So we're in the dressing room, and prior to us going on, we're warming up backstage, and Mick Massey, one of the original Four Seasons, is passing the dressing room. So I say to the guys, listen, let's really sing loud so these guys can see how good we are and how good we can harmonize. So Nick is passing, we're singing, and he comes in and he tells us, you know, you guys are great. You harmonize great. You know, those songs that you're singing, terrific. He said, you know, we're going to warm up. Would you like to come and hear us sing? So I said, sure. So I go down the hall to the dressing room of the Four Seasons, and the guys warm up with a song called Laura in 4-part harmony.
Right.
Now, you know, I'm peeing my pants because, you know, these guys are like singing 4 freshmen type harmony. And like, I'm saying, wow, you know, they're not a bullshit group. Frankie and the guys are really great singers, and they had, you know, the ability to be able to sing legit stuff as well as rock and roll at that time doo-wop.
That's right.
And you, John, you and the Duprees were inspired by the 4 freshmen, and so was Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons were inspired by the 4 freshmen. It's amazing because you could all sing that. And if anybody, I've seen this. If you go back to look at some of the early Four Seasons, especially when they were on the Steve Allen show, and they were all singing around one mic, singing standards, upbeat tempo standards in 4 parts.
Wow.
Now you guys, but now let me bring this into. You also toured. You were not just a doo-wop group, not just a jazz group, but you even did folk music at one time too, as well, didn't you guys?
You know, Rob, as I mentioned before, the Duprees got booked on the college circuit, so we were playing all the top 10 colleges: Notre Dame, Michigan State, Penn State. We played all those places in big auditorium, and we were on tour with a group called the Chad Mitchell Trio.
Oh, yeah.
And at that time, the lead singer was John Denver.
Yeah, he had a career after that, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And the Chad Mitchell Trio, because we had a lot of records at that time, opened the show for the Duprees. Now, I'm saying to the guys backstage, you know, what the hell are we going to sing next after You Belong to Me in the hit records? These college kids are not going to want to hear, you know, doo-wop rock and roll. So we strapped on the guitars, the banjo, and we started to sing the Christie Minstrels, the Brothers Four. We could sing folk music. Now, a lot of people don't know that the Duprees could sing folk music, but that was in our repertoire when we were on the college circuit for a long time.
Amazing.
Wow. Well, Robbie, you talked about John. You talked about Debbie for a moment. She actually came back on the show. If you could talk directly with her and mention what you told us before from the Osmond Hearing Fund. Debbie, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, how are you?
Debbie, meet John. John, meet Debbie. Now,
nice
John,
to meet you.
Hey, Deb, it's a pleasure to meet you. And I was listening to your story, and when I had the opportunity to start talking about the Duprees, I said to Robbie, please connect me with Debbie because my granddaughter has a 40% hearing loss. What I would like to do is connect with you after the show at some portion and help you raise funds for your cause.
I would love that. Absolutely. That would be amazing to have you helping us. That would be great.
It would be all my pleasure, Debbie.
I would love that.
And
thank
Debbie,
thank you for doing what you're doing and all the hard work you're putting in to raising money for people who can't afford hearing aids for their children.
You know what? I started doing it not because I have to, because I'm one of the fortunate ones. My insurance does cover hearing aids for my son at this point. So I'm not doing it out of my own need because there is no need for me anymore. But there are thousands and thousands and thousands of children here in New York that cannot hear the sound of their mother's voice. Something so simple. And that's who I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for those children and those mothers who can't do it for themselves. And I'm determined to help as many of them as I can.
Debbie, God bless you for your efforts. You're a wonderful woman, and I'm serious about connecting with you. Let's do some things together that we can raise some money for your cause.
Love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love that.
Debbie, thank you for coming back on. I'll connect you too after the show.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
God bless.
Debbie. And then one of the cool things about John is he's not only a singer and a musician, but he's worn a lot of different hats in the music business, and so it doesn't surprise me that he could come together and do that kind of a thing. Because John, you have been you've been a promoter. As a matter of fact, John, can you pick up your phone? We want to see your face a little bit closer. Can you pick up your phone? We'll see you a lot better.
That's it.
There we go.
Better. There's the John Salvato, I know. But now you have not only been a singer, you've been on the stage, but you've been behind the scenes because you've been a promoter, you've been a manager. Tell the audience a little bit about that side of John Salvato. Could you hear me, John?
I can just about hear you, Rob. Can you speak a little louder?
Yeah. What we got, you are not only a singer and a musician, but you are a promoter and a manager too.
Well, thanks for that introduction, Rob. Yeah, you know me from the days when I was working for an outdoor advertising company called Winston Network, and we had a theme show called Love and Feelings.
Right.
And with that show, we probably booked Frankie as a headliner right across the country in every major arena. There were five acts on that show. Frankie headlined. The Righteous Brothers were on the same show. Four Tops, Temptations, Johnny Rivers, and so on and so forth. It was one of the most exciting concerts with a multiple act lineup of all those great stars throughout the decades, with all the music that was, I guess, famous and everybody knew the songs.
Those were great shows that you put on. Now, what kind of a thinking does it take to leave the stage and then get behind the scenes and promote a concert? That's a whole different set of skills. But tell the audience how you adapted to that.
You know, Rob, similar to a story and a conversation that I had with Bob Gaudio.
Uh-huh.
You know, when I first met Bob, we had a conversation together, and it was backstage at one of the shows, both Frankie and myself, we were performing at. And Bob said to me at that time, he always had a better feeling for being in show business and recording people, opening up a studio and being in the background than singing. Now, I loved being in the showbiz booking, producing shows, as well as I enjoyed singing on stage. And when I had the opportunity to be able to go out there and produce some great concerts with multiple acts like Frankie and the Brothers and the Tops and the Temps, Johnny Rivers, it was, I was like in awe just being able to produce those shows.
Those are great shows too that you produce. It's funny that you said that about Bob Gaudio because, you know, Bob Gaudio, who many people would know, is the primary songwriter and the primary producer. He was one of the original Four Seasons, but he left the band in 1972, even though he and Frankie still have that famous partnership on a handshake that is depicted so well in Jersey Boys. But Bob Gaudio does not like to be on stage. I can't tell you how many times he's been backstage at a show, and I've tried to pull him to come out and do the last song with us, but he doesn't want to have anything to do with it. It's fascinating.
Well, I can understand that. I mean, if you pulled me on stage, I would sing. So I can wear the two hats very comfortable.
As a matter of fact, you did sing. Didn't you get up on stage with us one time and get up and sing with us on one of those concerts back in the day?
Well, I'll tell you from my best recollection, I was in the audience when Frankie was being awarded some big award in New Jersey, and Frank was in the audience. I was in the audience with Frank's brother, Bob, Don Ciccone, and I think there were a few other guys. And I'm not sure if you were there. And the MC that was giving out the award asked Frank if he would come up and sing a song. And Frank said, well, I don't have a band or I don't have the singers, but here we were. We were five guys in the audience ready to get up on stage and steal the show and give Frankie his moment. So we got up there and we sang, I've Got You Under My Skin. Now, I have to say this to you, Rob. I've sang that song many, many times with my own group, but never the same as was singing it with Frankie. He gave me goosebumps when he sang with his phrasing. I thought it was fantastic. That's a memory that'll last forever, as far as I'm concerned.
Wow, wow.
Hey, you know what? Now, let's talk about Frankie just for a second, because you've known him longer than I've known him, and I've been here for 44 years. But the thing with Frankie Valli is he just, at 88 years old, he just headlined Radio City Music Hall. Who could have ever thought that this young Italian kid could be, at 88 years old, headlining and still having a career that's on the top of the heap at 88 years old? What can you tell the audience about Frankie Valli?
Well, what I'd like to say is I think that our generation were hardworking people. Being in show business was not the most comfortable business to be in, and you never knew what next month was going to bring as far as your income is concerned, or you were going to stay on the charts and continue to make hit records, and where your livelihood was going to come from. So I think Frank and I and some of the people that come from that period of time go out there and we work as many times as people want to see us perform, and we get a booking. And I kind of think it's generational. I mean, we didn't start out making money like NSYNC or the Backstreet Boys, or the kind of money that there is out today where the world hears your records. When our records come out, we had a number one record. It all came from sales in the United States. So I think that generational, that moves us. And Frankie still has it. God bless him.
Yeah, he does.
That he has the health and stamina to get out there and perform.